Barça lives on contrasts. Good and tough news intertwine into one tense storyline. On the one hand, there's the long-awaited return of Lamine Yamal, a symbol of hope and fresh energy before the battle with Real Sociedad. On the other, a string of injuries and forced breaks for key players is forcing Hansi Flick to search for new solutions on the go. But while the doctors fight for Gavi and Raphinha, the sporting department makes headlines with other stories. Julián Álvarez's name is increasingly linked with Barcelona, and in Germany they write that Flick himself is pushing for the transfer of Serhou Guirassy. And that's not all. On the horizon looms a sensational option with Harry Kane. Today we'll connect all the lines, from Yamal's return to billion-euro rumors about Barca's future number 9. There is both good and bad news from Barcelona. Let's start with the positive. Lamine Yamal has rejoined the main group and is ready to play against Real Sociedad. Hansi Flick said directly, "Now is the perfect moment for his return. If he's in the squad, it means he's ready." In Saturday's session, both Yamal and Alejandro Balde trained, and players from Barça Athletic also worked with the first team, including goalkeepers Eder Aller and Emilio Bernat. 3 days after the trip to Oviedo, the team is back in action. The focus is on freshness and readiness from everyone, because Flick's start to the season has been tense and intense. Now, about the losses. The most painful story of the past days is goalkeeper Joan García. He underwent arthroscopy for a torn medial meniscus in his left knee. The forecast is 4 to 6 weeks of recovery. This season, Garcia already has 7 matches, 5 goals conceded, and 3 clean sheets against Mallorca, Valencia, and Getafe. His absence is a blow, but there is an experienced replacement in goal, and the staff is calm about that. Then there's Raphinha's injury, damage to the middle third of the right hamstring, with an estimated break of around 3 weeks. In the last training session, Fermin, Gavi, and Ter Stegen also didn't participate. A separate case is Gavi. He underwent knee arthroscopy, the medial meniscus was stitched, and doctors estimate recovery will take about 5 months. Initially, the hope was for a softer scenario, but during surgery it turned out the damage was more serious than expected. Flick does not hide this. The boy is 21. His career is still long. But right now, discipline and proper rehabilitation, both physical and psychological, are critically important. The club is helping, and the coach openly admits, the road will not be easy, but if anyone can handle such a challenge, it's Gavi. At the same time, Barça does not plan to rush into the market. They don't see a worthy replacement for reasonable money and are not ready to make signings just for the sake of it, especially in the current financial conditions. Flick's tone is direct and tough. This happens. We have to adapt. We have an excellent squad. We only control what's in our hands, and we don't want to dwell on those who are absent. Those who are fit will cope. That is the working mood of the week. Bring Yamal back to the field. Keep balance in the rotation without Raphinha and Garcia. Support Gavi, and not lose momentum. The conclusion for today is simple. Yamal's return is a breath of fresh air before Real Sociedad. The losses are significant, but the staff stays on course, relying on those ready right now, without panic or unnecessary moves. The next step is to prove it on the pitch and get through this busy stretch without new setbacks. We keep following him and believe that soon the good news will start outweighing the bad. And now, to the block of rumors making noise in recent days. This is about Julián Álvarez and his possible departure from Atletico with a move toward Barça. Straight from the stream of sources, a number of Spanish and Catalan outlets quote Julián's first coach, Hugo Rafael Varas, who claims that the forward always sympathized with Barcelona and could move there under the right conditions. At the same time, reports say that Álvarez does not feel fully comfortable in Madrid, while Barça's sporting department keeps him on the list as a future successor in attack. On global aggregators, it is noted that interest in the player is attributed not only to the Catalans, but also to Liverpool. Atletico's position is as cautious as possible. It was reported that Diego Simeone publicly called Álvarez key for the team, trying in this way to put out the wave of transfer talk. Julián himself already responded to the lip-reading episode during his substitution. He admitted he lost his temper in the heat of the moment, but emphasized there is no conflict with the coach, and his focus remains on work. At the same time, familiar notes are coming from the player's entourage. Atletico's current model, with its heavy defensive workload, does not reveal him as a true number 9. Varas recalled River Plate and stressed that Julián often found himself more of a distributor, or even a defensive helper rather than a finisher. Not the type of role he is used to. Agent Fernando Hidalgo diplomatically added, Barça is close to Julián, as it is to many Argentines, but for now he is focused on the Madrid stage. In football, things change quickly. There is also the pragmatic side of a deal. Álvarez has a long contract, Atletico paid serious money for his transfer, and if the time ever comes to sell, the price will not be simple. The market currently values him around 100, but with a seller's premium, it could go much higher, especially if the buyer is a direct competitor in Spain. Against this backdrop, Joan Laporta's earlier remark is often recalled. Activating the idea of a central striker makes more sense when parting ways with Lewandowski, as a stage change in attack, not as the parallel coexistence of two expensive number 9s. The conclusion for now, the Blaugrana side is closely monitoring the situation and sees Álvarez as an option for the future. The player himself is not burning bridges and publicly maintains respect for Simeone. Atletico emphasizes his importance and gives no reason to talk about an easy exit. Barca's financial reality is also not about impulsive moves at maximum price. In other words, this is not a transfer tomorrow, but a storyline for the long run. Much depends on Julián's role under Simeone, the player's own stance, and the club's willingness to discuss 9-digit sums. What do you think of this story? Should Barça enter an expensive race for Álvarez under Hansi Flick's project, or wait for the natural outcome with Lewandowski's departure? Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll keep following how these rumors from the headlines turn, or not, into real negotiations. Let's move further along the hot agenda. In Catalonia, the future number 9 is being discussed right now. According to German reports, Hansi Flick is in love with Serhou Guirassy from Borussia Dortmund, and the idea does not exclude keeping Robert Lewandowski for another season. The logic is simple. The Pole remains a cornerstone, but his contract is expiring, age is pressing, and Plan B must be ready in advance. Here's the picture with Guirassy. His current spell at Dortmund after moving from Stuttgart has boosted his price and status. A hat-trick against Flick's former Bayern side in the 2024-25 UCL quarterfinals, then a scoring race where he matched Raphinha's tally in the tournament. He started the new Bundesliga season just as sharply, 4 goals in 4 matches. Hence the numbers in the rumors. Germans write about a €100 million benchmark, Dortmund are bargaining hard, and the striker is already on a solid salary, around 10 million per year. But inside Barça, there is no consensus. Flick favors targeted reinforcement on the pitch. He wants a penalty box killer here and now. Joan Laporta, with the 2026 elections in mind, leans toward showcase names. On the president's lists appeared Julián Álvarez and even Erling Haaland. The problem is that the Galacticos option costs a fortune, while the club's financial reality is tied to the Camp Nou reconstruction and contract renewals for key players like Lamine Yamal, Raphinha, and others. Hence the fork in the road. Enter a heavy auction for a superstar, or take Guirassy as a more accessible, though still expensive, move. And yes, age is an argument against overpaying. Spending close to 100 million on a player nearing 30 is a bet on immediate goals, not resale value. At the same time, Bild dropped a bombshell about Harry Kane. According to their information, as early as next summer, a buyout option of €67 million could be triggered, giving the Englishman practically the right to choose his next move. Real Madrid and Barcelona are keeping their ears open. For Madrid, the fit with their current young core project is unclear, while for Barça, the swap Lewandowski for Kane scenario looks logical both in football and financial terms. The price tag is far from astronomical. Meanwhile, the official tone remains calm. Bayern's sporting director publicly believes in the project. Harry himself says he is happy in Munich, he still has 2 years on his contract, and has no thoughts of returning to the Premier League. On the pitch, his numbers speak louder. 100 goals for Bayern in just 104 matches, faster than Haaland and Ronaldo over comparable stretches. And he credits teammates and the coaching staff for helping him achieve this. What does all this mean for Barça in the short term? Flick sees Guirassy as a turnkey solution. Laporta reaches for a bigger name, the budget demands caution, and any of these paths are possible if the sum and the player's will align. As for Kane, there is no point in moving right now. Everything will depend on Bayern's stance on renewal, while for Barça, the priorities remain tied to youth contracts and financial limits. In the long run, the club still needs a succession plan for the number 9 role, either a ready-made goal regardless of age or an expensive bet on a superstar. Which path seems closer to you? The pragmatic Guirassy for Flick's ideas, or a loud push for a superstar if the market allows it? And how do you view the Kane option? A real alternative to Lewandowski, or just a beautiful theory without economic logic? Share your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe. Next, we'll break down how these rumors survived their first test in winter and which number 9 really comes closer to the Camp Nou.